Welcome to Lincoln Memorial Stadium, the home of the Nebraska Cornhuskers in this very critical Big Ten showdown against the Michigan Wolverines. Nebraska controls their own destiny for the Big Ten title, and a slip-up could cost them that. I'm David Roy, in the booth with me tonight, as always, is the commissioner of the Cfsl, Mike Peters. And Mike, a very critical game for Nebraska.
It is. They keep their conference title hopes alive with a win, and they go out the window with a loss, so it means everything. It's senior night here in Lincoln, and they really want to come out with a win. Michigan, though, they want to play spoiler.
It would be the second time tonight that the road team would come up with the upset, and Nebraska looking to avoid that, as they'll begin with a carry for Dell, and he'll pick up 2 to open things up for Nebraska.
Well, a good start there for Michigan as Cfsl gets in there for the tackle. You want to keep Dowell from getting free. If you slow him down, you slow down Scott Fountain at quarterback.
Dowell has rushed for over 100 yards in every game this season. Over the last 3, over 150 as Fountain's first pass of the night is incomplete, and a flag is thrown.
Defense.
Well, we don't see that too often. John Hill Jordan getting a pass interference call. We rarely get pass interference calls, but we get one there, and a big break for Michigan. And we see Alan Burnquist, the AD and head coach of Michigan, does not like it.
So Fountain's opening pass, while it's incomplete, that pass interference penalty will move Nebraska out to their own 42, where they run the triple option, and Fountain into the open field and in a foot race to the 10. Will he get down inside the 5, down to the 1, but not the touchdown? A 57-yard run for Scott Fountain.
Well, and this is what makes this offense so deadly. They only had 2 guys defending the option. They take on Dow. Fountain slips up the middle, slips a tackle, and he's off to the races. And had it not been Juice Staley chasing him down inside the 1, that would have been 6 for Nebraska.
The half-yard line, pistol set, 3 tight ends. Dow outside to the right, doesn't get in.
What in the world was that? He had a clear lane, and it's almost like he was like, nah, I want my homie Scott Fountain to get the touchdown here.
It'll be Scott Fountain's 12th rushing touchdown, if that is indeed the case. They'll be back in the pistol. Triple option again, and Fountain stumbling, losing 12.
Well, and this is where it becomes such important. A lot of people think, oh, you got a 1st and goal from the 1. No big deal. You'll get it in. But now they're looking at a 3rd and goal from like the 12.
Passing situation for Nebraska, you would think, as it's trips look, bottom of the screen. Fountain set up the halfback screen. Dowdy Dell with blocking, but it closes quickly as Cletus Castle pops him.
Yeah, Castle had was wanting none of that, and what a strange way to end there. Fountain gets it all the way down inside the 1. Dowell looks like he could have easily ran it in, doesn't. Then they take a sack and wind up coming away with only 3.
So Phil Castrino puts it through from 25 yards out, but Mike, that's got to be a disappointing start for Nebraska because of what you just laid out.
I think it's an extremely disappointing start. They get a 57-yard run from the quarterback down inside the 1 with Dowdy Dowell and Scott Fountain. You expect that to convert to 7, to come away with only 3. Yeah, it's definitely disappointing.
Meanwhile, we turn our attention to the Michigan offense for the first time tonight. They're going to run a counter run for Dior Chapman, who cuts it back inside. He's got a big run of his own. Not quite a 57-yarder, but it is a gain of 18.
Well, the interesting thing is these 2 teams are built very similar. Tanner Jones and Scott Fountain are very similar in the way they run as far as their athleticism, although Scott Fountain's just proven so far to be better in the run game. Dior Chapman is similar to Dowell in some ways. They don't really execute the same way, but they're built similarly. Now, the flip side is Michigan's got a lot more talent at the receiver position, and they've been trying to use that almost to the detriment of Tanner Jones at quarterback.
Jones completes his first pass out into the flats for the tight end, Oliver Bott. He'll get 6. And on 2nd down, read option. Jones on the keeper has a first down, picking up 8.
Well, they need that more. Tanner Jones comes in with only 394 yards rushing. Scott Fountain came in with 770. They need Tanner Jones to show off his athleticism. They just haven't really been using him enough this season. I think that's part of the reason they're 1-5.
Option keeper again, but Jones met quickly by Xavier Cologne, and then the rest of the Cornhuskers stop him at the line of scrimmage.
Well, we saw earlier tonight with LSU, if you go to 2 read options in a row with the quarterback keeps it, a lot of times the second one's not going to be as effective because they're a little bit more prepared for it. You got to get Chapman more involved.
Pistol, Tanner Jones to throw, goes short right side. Oliver Butt gets 5 yards, so half the distance in, and it makes things easier for Jones on third down.
Well, this has been part of Michigan's problem. They're dead last in the league in offensive yards, and part of it is when they pass, they throw really short, and it's not something that really scares a lot of defenses.
Halfback screen right side, Dior Chapman not getting much of anything. In fact, he will lose yardage there on that screen.
Well, Nebraska played that well. As you see the big defensive lineman, Scotty Morgan, go down there, wasn't able to stay in pursuit, but they got a nice play on the outside by the walk-on that makes the tackle and shuts that one down, but they're going to go for it on 4th and 6.
Michigan playing aggressive here on the road, looking for their second win of the season. And an upset as Jones threads it over the middle for Butt, and he'll get 12.
I don't think you were super concerned if you're Nebraska because they just haven't thrown the ball very well all season, but they complete it nice over the middle there to their 4-star tight end.
Pistol set, Giorgio Pepino, the man in motion. They're going to give it to Chapman, running right and in pursuit with Cologne, holding Chapman to a 1-yard gain.
Yeah, Xavier Cologne gets in there. One of the better defenders on this team came in second in tackles, one ahead of Elijah Tolentino. Everybody's way behind Mika Räikkönen, though.
Pistol, handoff, Chapman up the middle, slips free of Cologne, and still fighting as he gets 7.
Well, as I said, Chapman is similar to Dowdy Dowell in a lot of ways. They're big, strong backs. Chapman, a little bit more of an athlete than Dowell is, but they can both make you miss and they can both run through you, and Chapman shows it there.
And off Chapman to the inside, and he will run through a sea of red to get 4 yards.
Well, Nebraska, by not converting on that touchdown on the first drive, puts a lot of pressure on their defense. They don't want to let Michigan go down and score and take the early lead.
And off again to Chapman, to the inside, down to the 10, and a gain of 6 this time for Dior Chapman. And Mike, early on, Chapman picking up 5, 6, 7 yards a chunk.
Well, he is. He's been breaking a lot of tackles. This time Ray Tate gets there and is able to bring him down, but it's still 6 yards before the first guy gets there.
Pistol set. And off on the counter, and this time the Nebraska defense closes ground. It's a loss of 1.
Fred Bennett getting in there. The strong safety to get in there to make the tackle. He does a good job there, but, on 3rd and 5, I wouldn't be surprised to see that or even a read option.
Tanner Jones to throw, halfback screen, right side, Dior Chapman with a little blocking, but it's not enough. He'll get back the yardage he lost, really a gain of 2. But 4th and 4, and Michigan will call upon Cassius Castle.
Well, Nebraska's defense did what they needed to there. Again, I don't like the play calling there for Michigan. They did the same thing, but they went for it on 4th down earlier in the drive. This time they go with the halfback screen on 3rd down. Doesn't work, and they settle for the field goal. And again, this has kind of been the kind of play calling that's plagued them all season.
And early on, both offenses able to drive the field into the red zone and then stall out, and both teams come away with 3 points on their opening possession. Like, what do you expect differently, though, for Nebraska on their second drive?
Well, I expect if they get it inside the 1 that they're going to give it to Dowdy Dowell, and he's not going to try to swing it outside and pass up the touchdown. I do expect to see that.
Headline read, Scott Fountain able to make one-man miss out into the open field and across the 30-yard line, a gain of 19 by Scott Fountain.
Well, Scott Fountain does not seem deterred by not getting that touchdown on that opening drive, as he is looking to me a lot like Colt Youngblood in the first game, who came out like a man possessed running the ball. Fountain looking really good early on.
Up to the 41 and a handoff for Dow this time. Breaks 1 tackle, breaks a second, but ultimately gets 3 yards for his efforts.
So the one thing that this is doing well right now is they're focusing on Dowdy Dowell. And again, if Nebraska can't get Dowell going, it's going to make things harder for Scott Fountain. So they're executing half of the puzzle right now.
Read option keeper, Fountain outside to the right, finds an alley to run through, and he'll advance it down to the Michigan 45.
Well, the downside for your defense, whenever you start to focus in on the running back, you leave a lot of room open for Scott Fountain. And right now, Fountain's capitalized on it.
Pistol, hand off, Dowell up the middle, and Dowdy Dowell, a 9-yard run, his longest so far of the night.
Everybody knows what's coming, and nobody really yet has been able to slow it down, at least during this 3-game winning streak.
2nd and a yard to go. Dowell getting the carry, cuts upfield, and he'll get just enough for that first down.
I don't know. Dowell's bobbing and weaving a little bit too much behind the line. He gets the first down there, but it is a little concerning if you're a Nebraska fan, seeing him not hit that hole with explosiveness.
2 tight ends. Receiver in motion for the triple option, but Dowell gets the handoff, and only 2 yards there. Having a hard time, Mike, finding room up the middle.
I think Dowell and Griffin Yelkich might have been out partying last night.
Inside a minute to play here in the first as Scott Fountain and company looking to get more points. A blitz comes, but Fountain finds his man underneath. That's Andrew Schiffer, the tight end, getting 20.
Well, Schiffer got the first 2 touchdowns of his career earlier, and he was trying to get another one there. Going to get down inside the 10, but a nice pickup there for the tight end. A lot of teams forget that they got 2 star-level tight ends out here for Nebraska. They don't use them a lot, but when they do, they can be effective.
And a great job by Fountain recognizing the blitz, checking it down to Schiffer, who then made a man miss to help him get those 20 yards. So 1st and 10 from the 10, and out of the pistol, they give it to Dowell, who cuts it upfield, and he'll get 4 yards.
Well, he had a lead blocker. The backup running back, Cedric Jenkins, was out there. He decides to cut inside, which I don't have a problem with that. At least he's being decisive with the ball.
It's the 9th play of the current drive. Pistol set. Fountain to throw, going to take off and run up the middle, and he'll get it down inside the 5, and that's how we end the first quarter of play rather quickly. All tied up at 3 in this critical Big Ten showdown. You're watching the CFSL on PX1 Sports on YouTube Live. Start of the second quarter, and it's 3rd down from inside the 5-yard line. A handoff, Dowell running right into the end zone and through Castle to do so.
I don't think that was Castle. I think that was actually a walk-on that he ran over. I saw a number 9. But either way, Dowdy Dowell learned from his last trip not to bob and weave at the goal line and just plows his way in for his 7th rushing touchdown. Finally, Nebraska gets the first touchdown, and they got a 7-point lead.
Back to Michigan because, as you know, point out earlier, both teams in their opening possession went down into the red zone, came away with field goals. Can Michigan now respond to Nebraska's touchdown with one of their own?
Well, I think that touchdown's way more important for Nebraska. Well, I guess it's just really important for Nebraska. The reason being is we've talked about this early in the season that Nebraska wasn't really built to be a team that can come from behind. Michigan even more so. With the way we've seen them be so conservative in their passing game and their running game not be as effective, them trailing by any amount is big. Them trailing by maybe 2 scores is really big. So if Michigan's not able to move the ball down the field and get a touchdown, it could really start to open some opportunities for Nebraska.
Jones on the midline read to open up the drive, gets 4, and a quick throw out into the flat for Bont, makes one man miss before picking up 10 yards with the catch and run and moving the sticks here for the Wolverines.
I think this is big, getting Oliver Bont involved. D.R. Chapman comes into the game, their number 1 receiver with 45 catches, only 4.1 per carry. It's hard to cover the tight end in this league, and getting him more involved, I think, is a good strategy for them.
Quick throw over the middle. There's Bont again, getting 8 yards this time. And so, Mike, as you said, that reliance now on Bont so far.
Well, you use the running game, you use Bont, and you get the defense thinking about them, and then you hit them over the top with Giorgio Pepino.
Of Jones's 7 passes, 5 of them have been to Oliver Bont. As Tanner Jones running here, and he's free down the right sideline and in a foot race as he is wrestled down by Ray Tate this time.
Actually, it was Austin Johnson, the cornerback, that got him. I know you're having the same trouble that I have with some other team. Well, really Auburn. Austin Johnson 18, Ray Tate 19. But Johnson's the one that gets over there and saves it. You see a little bit of that explosiveness that we've talked about Tanner Jones possessing.
Big run there down inside the red zone. Speed option to left. Jones makes one-man miss. And a pitch to Dior Chapman was dangerous, but Chapman gets 3.
Yeah, very dangerous there. Aaron Joseph gets in there, and Tate's able to make him miss, but then he forces an ill-advised pitch there, but luckily gets away with it.
They called it a forward pass to his. Jones keeps it. Touchdown, Wolverines.
Michigan did exactly what they needed to do, and they used that read option very well. Jones is explosive and very dangerous when he runs, and now we're starting to see a little bit of that. If Michigan had been doing a little bit more of this all season, the record might be a little bit different, but the fact that they're having success means that this could be much more of a struggle in this game for Nebraska than maybe they hoped for.
And Mike, this appears to be, it's not really a shootout, and I don't know what the appropriate term would be for it, but it's a duel of the running games.
It is, and I think most people that were astute in this league figured that that's what was going to happen. Which team can run it better? I think most people give the advantage to Nebraska in that regard, but Michigan doing their part right now.
Down on the return, and Nebraska looking to repeat and have the same outcome as they did on their second drive of the night, which was a touchdown.
Well, on the first drive, really, I mean, despite not getting in, they ran it inside the 1. So they've had 2 excellent drives so far.
Play fake, Fountain just deciding to take off and run instead, slips through the first line of defense, and then slides for a gain of 4.
If you can have a knock on Scott Fountain this year, it's definitely been his passing. He came in with 6 interceptions, only 5 touchdowns. A lot of times when he does try to run deeper routes, he'll take off and scramble like that. He still picks up positive yards, though.
Back screen left side. Here's Dowdy Dow out in the flats, and a stiff arm on Staley to help him get 5.
Well, interestingly, they caught Michigan in a blitz, though, and Bray Ward was the first guy over there. Wind up getting a nice gain out of it, even though it wasn't the big one they hoped for.
3rd in the yard. Read option keeper, Scott Fountain to the right, and he is brought down fairly quickly after a gain of 10.
Dean Benson in there on the tackle, and Fountain was preparing for contact a little bit too early maybe. He tried to lower his shoulder and prepare for the contact. If he would have tried to maybe juke him or slip past him, maybe he'd still be running.
Still set, 2 tight ends on the field. Handoff, down, little counter run to the right side. He's got a convoy helping him to get down inside the Michigan 40.
Well, that was the number 3 tight end out there trying to lay some lumber. He does on the first job, but then he's too far out in front of Dowell and allows John Hill Jordan to get in for the tackle. But Nebraska still seemingly doing what they want, running the ball.
The 36-yard line in Michigan territory. Midline read, Scott Fountain gets 4 before he is caught.
Excellent job there by Raheem Darka to come up off the backside, and he sticks with the quarterback. Fountain picks up 4, but Darka does a good job there to limit it to just that.
2 tight ends to left, pistol set. Read option keeper, Scott Fountain running right, and Juice Staley comes up to stop him, inches short of the line to gain.
Well, a lot of times you think an inches scenario like this is a gimme and that it's basically a first down, but we saw on the goal line on the first drive that's not necessarily true.
Pistol here, 3 receivers to the right. Read option keeper, Scott Fountain breaks 1 tackle, bounces off of John Hill Jordan, and then Dean Benson and company will finally drag him down inside the 20.
Well, this is what makes Fountain so dangerous and what we haven't seen enough of from Tanner Jones is he gets out there and escapes, starts slipping tackles, and it can lead to those big, long runs.
Andrew Schiffer, the tight end in motion. It's Fountain looking, throws short. There's Schiffer, the tight end, bouncing off 1 tackle, and then Staley holds him up there after a gain of 7.
It's just another thing to think about. Now, the one thing I'd really like to see Nebraska do is take a shot deep. Unfortunately, most of the time they try to do that, Scott Fountain gets happy feet and takes off and run. You got to threaten him a little bit to keep him out of the backfield.
Run a quarterback power on 2nd down, but Cletus Castle was ready for it, comes through to stop him behind the line of scrimmage.
I don't know if we've even seen that from Nebraska. Maybe once we've seen it, but it is a different look, and I like that from Nebraska. They're using a lot of different formations to try to keep the Nebraska or the Michigan offense or defense guessing.
And off Dow, and he will squeak out that first down, stumbling forward to do so.
Third down does not have to be a passing down, and Nebraska shows it there. Just hand it off to your big back and move the chains.
Dow getting the carry, running outside to the right, met by Staley, breaks free of him, still fighting, down to the 2.
Dow had a little bit of a slow start to this game, but he's starting to pick it up here. That one should have been a loss of yards or at least a no gain, and Dow fights hard for yards.
Well, John Hill Jordan was fighting hard just to keep him out of the end zone, and Dow gets a carry and will not be denied this time. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Second touchdown of the night for Dow. Could have been 3 had he not made a mistake on that first drive for Nebraska. His 8th rushing touchdown of the season, and again, pressure shifts to Michigan.
For the extra point, he puts it through. We'll take this time to give a shout out to everybody in the live chat. Ray Tate, AJ's on it, Listen Outdoors, A. Drewster, Georgia fan, Scott Fountain, Tanner Hendricks, Kenny, let's see here, Alan, and anybody else I might have missed? Jimbo, Rick, anybody else I might have missed? I apologize. As Nebraska 17-10 score here in Pepino. Decent return to give Tanner Jones and company an opportunity to respond and tie it up.
Despite anybody that David may have missed, we do appreciate those that are here, and thank you guys all for tuning in. Going to be a pivotal drive here for Michigan. See if they can, again, they don't want to fall behind 2 scores, so they're going to need points here.
Triple option, Jones with room, and all alone was Pepino. If he could have pitched it to him, would have been 6.
Well, at that point, there's so much space between him and Pepino that I agree with Jones here, especially once he cuts inside. He realizes that he can't pitch it. Maybe he could have pitched it before the cut, but at that point, he'd already committed to it. Good job there for Jones.
I want to remind everybody to like the stream and subscribe if you have not already. Also ring that bell icon so that you can get notifications when we go live. As somebody needs to notify this Nebraska defense, you got to stop Tanner Jones from running the ball.
Well, they know what's coming, and they know that he's capable of doing this. This is just one of the few games this season where Jones has really been able to kind of find his stride, and it might be, you know what, Fountain's on the other side. I got to match him tit for tat. So far, he's doing a good job doing that.
Both offenses trying to match the other pound for pound here, and it feels like a heavyweight fight as Nebraska fighting for a conference title, and they come up with a stop there. It's a loss of 2.
Big defensive tackle Scotty Morgan, the third, gets in there for the tackle for loss. His first, and anytime you can make Michigan go backwards, you're doing your job.
7-12, 2 minutes to play here in the second, and a bubble screen thrown at the face mask of Aaron Josephs.
Yeah, I don't think Josephs was prepared for that, because he could have picked that off and maybe had his 2nd touchdown of the season.
I'm sorry, I've seen quarterbacks throw those in the dirt, but never at the face mask of an oncoming defensive end. Halfback screen here, and Dior Chapman gets bottled up and spun out of bounds for no gain.
Well, Ray Tate gets in there and forces him out of bounds. Again, this is a big problem here for Michigan. They seem to like the halfback screen as their 3rd down play, and it winds up leading them to a lot of situations like this.
51-yard field goal attempt from that left hash, and Cassius Castle just gets it through to make it a 4-point game.
Well, a 2nd field goal of the night makes him 10 for 10 on the season, but you're right, he just barely got that one through.
So, Mike, it's not the touchdown, which means Nebraska still the lead and an opportunity to extend this lead out even further and make it a double-digit game.
Well, it's just pressure on the Michigan defense now because they don't want to give up 7 here. You don't want to fall behind 10, especially since it will likely be going into the second half. You want to try to keep this a 1-score game, and so now the pressure is on the Michigan defense to come up with a stop.
Good news for Michigan, they will get the ball to start the second half of play as Zyrock Young comes up with his first grab for 8 yards.
Well, and Nebraska's passing a little bit here. Fountain 5 for 5, maybe the most efficient we've seen him throwing the ball.
2nd and 2. Quick throw to the middle. That pass caught by Schiffer, the tight end. He'll get 7 yards to move the sticks.
Well, I think everybody knows what Nebraska's trying to do, and Fountain and company are keeping Michigan off balance just enough that it's probably going to open some holes for this running game. Although with time ticking away in the second half, you kind of expect Nebraska to pass here.
Pistol set, quick throw out into the flats there for the walk-on Hall. He'll get 3 yards, but it stops the clock.
Well, you still have 3 timeouts. Well, you have 2 timeouts for Nebraska, so I would like to see them use the run a little bit because it is explosive, especially with read options.
Pistol set, 3 wide, top the screen. Fountain, stand in, throws that one to the left side, and Young, his second grab, goes for 13 this time.
Well, the one thing this is doing is it's putting doubt in the minds of this Michigan defense and any other teams that Nebraska will play this season is, oh wait, I guess they can throw a little bit.
Fountain to throw again. Quick throw on the swing route for Dow, and he'll get back to the line of scrimmage, having to work against John Hill Jordan there.
It kind of feels like Nebraska's maybe playing for a field goal here. They just don't want to give the ball back to Michigan. I'd like to see them be a little bit more aggressive.
Minute to play, 2 timeouts for the Cornhuskers as Fountain, quick throw out to the flats there, and Schiffer gets 3, 3rd and 7, 1 timeout remaining for Nebraska.
Yeah, only 1 timeout left. They could run the ball here theoretically, but I think they want to try to pass it. Blitz coming.
Fountain throwing short again. There's the tight end Schiffer, and he's still fighting down to the 19.
Well, Schiffer gave Jordan Doppler everything he could want and a little bit more as he fights for the nice first down. 11 of 11 passing for Fountain.
He's been perfect on this drive, and this throw is first incompletion of the night.
Well, and there we see why they don't take a lot of shots deep, as I think he was just throwing that one away, but a long way away from his receiver nonetheless.
Up until that pass, he completed 7 straight on this drive alone, 11 straight on the night, and then they give it to Dow right up the middle, and he'll come up a yard short of the first down.
Well, first down would have stopped the clock, but they're still okay here.
30 seconds now as the ball is snapped, and a quick throw out to the flats on the left side for Schiffer. That does get the first down and make it 1st and goal.
Well, it will stop the clock while they reset the ball, so a little bit of time here for Nebraska.
Fountain making an adjustment, taking a little time here. Looking, throwing short again, the tight end Schiffer, and a stiff arm will get him down to the 5.
Well, that one I didn't really like. I think you got to take a shot for the end zone. They had a corner route on the top of the screen that they didn't look to.
Fountain throwing, stand in over the middle, and Schiffer for 6.
Well, Schiffer is making a name for himself. It's his 3rd touchdown catch of the season, and he's got 8 catches already in this drive, and Nebraska showing that they're able to pass the ball a little bit when they need to.
That entire drive, only 1 run by Nebraska. The rest of that 12-play drive, pass attempts.
Yeah, I don't know if it really says that, hey, Nebraska can get down by 2 or 3 scores and they can pass their way to come back from it, but it does say that Nebraska can pass at the end of the second half and add on to a lead if you give them the opportunity.
It makes it an 11-point game here with 6 seconds to play in the opening half, and Michigan, as the Road Warriors, are looking to come up with something in Pepino. Maybe a big return here across midfield and pushed out of bounds at the 45. And that is how we end the first half. Nebraska out in front by double digits, an 11-point lead over the visiting Wolverines. And Mike, as we head to the studio, it started out a close-knit battle, but Nebraska started pulling away there late.
Well, they're starting to, but as you mentioned, Michigan's going to start with the ball, so we'll see how they adapt to start. Fountain with that big run down to the 1. Weren't sure if that was going to come back to cost Nebraska, but Dow winds up turning it upfield later on in the first half, gets the touchdown. Tanner Jones, he's been looking good. He's been trying to stay, drive for drive with Fountain, but Dow and Andrew Schiffer have kind of been the difference makers so far. Very similar from both of these teams, both focusing on the tight end of the pass game, both looking at both the running back and the quarterback in the running game. Right now, Nebraska just executing a little bit better on offense, playing a little bit better defense. That's got them out in front.
You look at the 2 offenses here, and really you can tell from the numbers, very heavy reliance on the running game, which is not surprising to anybody. What is maybe surprising, 3 minutes of time of possession is separating Michigan from Nebraska, with the Cornhuskers controlling the clock. And Mike, it feels like they're in control of this game.
A little bit. I mean, they've been more effective. 11-point lead is not that big. 3 points, or especially 7 for Michigan to open the second half, will definitely eat into it and kind of negate the momentum that they've gained. But They've done what they needed to put themselves in a position of their defense, which has been really good at creating turnovers all year long. They're tied for first in takeaways. If they were to come up with one, then it could really put Nebraska on track for a win.
Michigan will start the second half in control, and Pepino nearly had a kick return for a touchdown to end the half, which might have swung momentum in their favor, and he cannot quite repeat that 55-yard return here.
Well, he had a big pancake block, which opened him up on that one at the end of the half. Didn't get one there.
Tanner Jones keeping it on the read option, but it gets blown up courtesy of Xavier Cologne.
Well, that time Nebraska brought the blitz. They had one guy, that was Scotty Morgan, that took the running back. Cologne was keyed in on the quarterback, and that's what you need to shut down the option game.
The gun with Trey Greer in motion. They use him on the option play. Jones keeping it, has blocking as the sea of red catches up to him, a gain of 24.
Well, if I remember correctly, that's the same play that Javon Mack was able to break that big 99-yard run against Florida State all the way back in season 2. It is a dangerous play when you can get those lead blockers out in front of you.
9 carries, 113 rushing yards for Jones early on here, as Chapman will get this carry, and he'll pick up 7.
Well, this is the guy that they've kind of gone away from a little bit. He started to struggle a little bit at the end of that first half. Now with Jones continuing the big runs, you get Chapman back involved, Michigan can stay in this thing.
8 carries, 40 yards tonight for Dior Chapman, and they'll give him his 9th here, as Chapman fighting, not quite able to get the first down. He'll be inches shy for 3rd down.
Well, the Huskers giving themselves a shot here on 3rd downs, 3rd and inches. I would just turn around and hand it off to DR Chapman, but they might go read option, which has got some room at the top of the screen.
Jones, hand off, Dior Chapman, just able to get the first down, spinning forward to get 4.
Well, Xavier Cologne did what he needed to. He got back there, could have got the stop, but just a little bit too much heart and fight for DR Chapman.
Ball spot at the Nebraska 41. Oliver Bott in motion. And a handoff for Chapman, inside run, and Dior Chapman gets 9 on his 11th carry of the night.
Well, this is what Michigan needs to do. Keep running the ball like this, mixing it up between Chapman and Jones, the quarterback. Throw in a little bit of passing, and they can hang with this Nebraska team.
Nebraska showing blitz. They bring it as Tanner Jones checks it down to the tight end, Oliver Bott, out in the flats, and he will work his way down to the 21.
Well, Schiffer, the tight end for Nebraska's got 8 catches. Oliver Bott's got his 6th. Both quarterbacks are running very well. They're almost kind of mirror images offensively.
Both offenses fighting pound for pound here tonight as the halfback screen does not pan out. Jones just flicks his wrist and lets it sail through the back of the end zone.
Well, apparently temporarily, Tanner Jones thought that, hey, maybe if I throw this through the uprights, they'll give me some points.
Nebraska creeping towards the line of scrimmage. Triple option, and the pitch to Trey Jackson down inside the 10, stopped at the 6.
Well, they're doing a good job of mixing up their plays, and despite botching that halfback screen, apparently they just thought it wasn't going to work, so why try? They go to the triple option there, and it works nicely.
Actually say he got to the 7, where Jones will start in the gun, 2-by-2 look. Jones to throw, back corner of the end zone. That pass caught by Tyler Forrest for the touchdown.
Well, I thought that was maybe a mistake, as they're trying to pick on the potential All-American cornerback in Devin Hill, but they do beat him out there, and they get the touchdown through the air, and Michigan did what they needed to, and now will be down 4 pending the PAT.
And Mike, you mentioned that drive to open up the half was very important for Michigan to get that touchdown and to work their way back into this game.
Well, it keeps it a 1-score game, and now if you can limit Nebraska to just a field goal, you get an opportunity to move back down the field and tie it up with a touchdown.
This return by Austin Johnson. Out to about the 25-yard line. You see the numbers there for Tanner Jones. He's been efficient. On the other side of things, Scott Fountain has been pretty efficient tonight.
Yeah, Fountain's looked really good passing the ball, but I suspect they're going to go back to the run game here.
Play action. Fountain rolling right, throwing that one into coverage, and it's intercepted working his way back as the walk-on down to the 26.
Well, like I said, they should have stuck with the run game. They, may have got a little bit too comfortable with the pass game there at the end of the first half. They tried to, I think everybody expected they're going to go back to the run game, so they tried to keep them guessing, and they might have paid for it here. Michigan now not only with an opportunity to tie, they get an opportunity to take the lead in great field position.
First and 10, Michigan down by 4. Read option keeper Tanner Jones gets 8. And this Nebraska defense maybe reeling, Mike, from the sudden change.
Well, you can. Not only were you just out on the field, you could be a little bit tired. You could also be a little feeling a little down, so it's a great opportunity for Michigan to strike.
Flag is thrown here on 2nd and 2, and the false start penalty will back up Michigan and make it 2nd and 7.
Well, not what Michigan wants to do there. You don't want to have a nice gain on first down and then shoot yourself in the foot with a 5-yard penalty, but that's exactly what happens.
Pistol set. Fountain. Handoff. Dior Chapman. He's got the first down there by picking up 7.
Well, just a nice run, and everything working right now for the Michigan offense. They just need to keep doing what they're doing.
Pistol set. Trey Jackson in motion to set up in the backfield. They'll use him on the triple option by giving it to him, and Trey Jackson they're going to give him the first down. I thought he was just shy of it.
No, yeah, I thought he got across too. He got the first down, and again, Michigan doing a good job of mixing up the attacks that they're taking to this Nebraska defense.
From the 6-yard line, Tanner Jones going to call for Pepino to come in motion. They'll use him as a lead blocker, but the Nebraska defense slams the door to the end zone shut.
Well, it's that power option they used earlier for a nice 20-yard gain. That time, Nebraska's seen it a few times now. They shut it down.
Nebraska showing blitz on 2nd and goal. They bring it in. Chapman gets through and into the end zone for 6.
Well, Xavier Cologne over pursues there. I think he was going after the quarterback, then realized that Chapman had it, was a little bit too late, created the hole there, and Nebraska gave up the lead here as Michigan will go up by 3.
Extra point by Cassius Cfsl. Good. And Mike, you mentioned something in the first half about Nebraska not necessarily being built to play from behind, but a 3-point deficit just midway through the third. You don't feel too concerned if you're Nebraska, do you?
I wouldn't. No, I know Hex is losing his mind in chat. Doesn't understand why they're throwing. It's like, well, you threw. There was a minute and a half left in the half. You had to throw, and then you just started with one throw at the start. Nebraska doesn't need to feel concerned. Yes, they had a 2-score lead that evaporated, but they're still in an okay spot.
We're going to start with a handoff for Dowdy Dow, who finds a crease, but very quickly met by Cletus Castle and held to a 3-yard gain.
Well, and I think this is what Michigan was expecting, or everybody was expecting to start the second half, but they went with the play action, and it didn't work out for them. Well, now they expect, well, we picked them off, so now they're going to run it, and, well, they clamp down on it.
Fountain to throw here. 3-man rush, and a shot on the left side, wide open. Bryant Dynasty for 6.
I wonder if Hex right now is thinking to himself, you know what, we should just keep running the ball. Because Bryant Dynasty said, hey, by the way, I'm pretty good. And he gets left wide open as the Michigan defense completely forgets about him. I guess they had no confidence in Scott Fountain throwing one deep. He proves that he can, and Nebraska back out in front.
And Mike, you mentioned earlier that you wanted to see Nebraska try to take more of those shots downfield. They don't for the entire first half. And was it to set that kind of play up in the second half, almost lulling the defense to sleep?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily done to try to lull them to sleep, but I think you do it occasionally to see if something like that happens. And that time it does, and it works out well for them.
And then the Nebraska special teams able to hold Juice Staley to a very modest return, and Nebraska, despite their 2-score lead evaporating, all of a sudden find themselves back up by 4 on a very quick 2-play scoring drive. And Mike, how much of that puts Michigan on the back foot, or are they just not that concerned either?
I think we're stretching if we want to try to make it more than what it is. I mean, Michigan, they battled back from down 2 scores, took the lead. Nebraska hits them with a big play. Okay, back to work for Michigan.
The back and forth and fair between two offenses They're putting in work tonight, and Tanner Jones wanted to throw as well, but the pass rush forces him to ditch that one, throwing it incomplete.
Well, there was a defender down there too, so he didn't want to throw the pick. That was just a good job by Jones to throw it away.
Pistol set here. Handoff, Chapman outside to the left, and he's able to get through the first wave of tacklers on his way to a 7-yard run there and make a very modest 3rd and 3.
Well, you like when your running back can get you 7 on 2nd and 10. Now you got a manageable 3rd and 3, but an opportunity here for the Nebraska defense to get him off the field.
And off Chapman outside to the right. The Nebraska defense does exactly that.
Well, Chapman, I don't feel like he really turned on the afterburners there and tried to hit that hole. I think he was trying to let some things develop, and I don't think he gave credit to the speed of this Nebraska defense as Tolentino comes up from in front and Aaron Josephs combined from behind to bring him down and force the punt.
Nico Raikkonen got in there as well. They'll give him credit for his 6th tackle of the night. It's Dow, decent return. And you look at the two offenses, Nebraska led the way in the first half. So far in the second half, been fairly even.
It has been, and it's showing on the scoreboard. You know, it's back to a 4-point lead for Nebraska, but now the pressure shifts a little bit as now Michigan's defense feels a little bit pressured not to make this a 2-score game again.
Well, Dow gets a great lane to run through, and he'll get the first down on his opening carry of this possession.
And back to what works, right? You hit them with that play over the top. They got to play the safeties back like you're seeing right now, and it opens up room for the running game.
Read option keeper, Fountain outside to the right, and coming up to make the stop was Benson, but he slows him down for John Hill Jordan to finish off the play.
Well, this is just the cat and mouse game of football because you're in a situation right now where you're down by 4. You don't want to make it 2 scores, so you don't want to let them hit you with a 1-play touchdown over the top again. So you got to play back a little bit, and you know that's going to give them room to run the ball, but you have to do it because you can't afford that big play. And if Nebraska executes, it's so hard to defend against.
Speed option, Fountain breaks 1, cannot break 2 as Cletus Castle caught him from behind and brings him down behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I thought maybe Fountain held on to that where he could have maybe pitched it, but there was enough distance there that made that a little bit questionable, and a good job there by the Michigan defense to force the 3rd down.
Well, it seemed Fountain didn't even know that Castle was coming behind him after he broke through the first tackle. And on 3rd and 5, a quick throw for Dow, who will pick up the first down.
Well, we've seen them go to Schiffer so many times over the middle on a 3rd down play like that. This time they go to Dow. And again, just a good job in Nebraska to keep things off balance and keep Michigan guessing.
First and 10, handoff, Dow bouncing outside to the right, spinning through 1. And finally tripped up after a gain of 7.
Well, Dow might have been a little bit impatient there because he had his pulling guard out there with him, but ran out in front of him. Then he was able to pick up a block, but at that point it was too late. Too many guys there.
Ball spot at the 24-yard line. Read option keeper Scott Fountain has all kinds of room. Cuts up field down to the 15, and it's a 10-yard run for the quarterback.
Well, I talked to a very prominent AD last week after Nebraska's win over Texas, and they told me straight up Nebraska was the one team right now that they don't want to face in the playoffs, and right now Nebraska's not doing anything to change that perception.
Option keeper Fountain outside to the left, and he'll lower the shoulder and gets hit hard for his efforts by John Hill Jordan.
And just more of the same, you know, even if it's only 5 yards, 2 plays of 5 yards, you get a first down. It's just mixing it up. It's Dow, it's Scott Fountain, it's passing to Schiffer, it's passing to Dow, it's taking shots deep. It's just they have the right play call almost every time for this Michigan defense.
And off here for Dowdy Dow outside to the left, and Dow gets met physically by John Hill Jordan after getting half the distance needed.
Well, the Charles Foster, the defensive tackle, was a little slow, wasn't able to chase down Dow, but it was a good job for the defense to pursue and keep him to just a 2-yard gain, and now force the 3rd down, although on 3rd and 3, everything's on the table.
Pistol set. Dow gets a carry outside to the left again, and the Michigan defense brings him down behind the line of scrimmage for a loss of 2.
Well, Isaiah Murcia is the one that gets in there for the tackle. I would have liked to see that be a run up the middle. Dow tries to bounce it outside. Michigan does a good job to shut it down. And now we're going to see if Pistorino can come on and make it a 7-point game.
Another 26-yard field goal attempt for Pistorino, and he delivers to make it that 7-point game with 12 seconds to play here in the third.
So now Michigan's okay. Their defense got a stop that they needed, limit them to just 3 now. They can move the ball down the field. A touchdown ties the game the right way they need to be.
Pino trying to find some running room in that return. Doesn't get a whole lot. And at this point, Mike, Notre Dame fans, if there are any in the chat, I haven't seen any, but they are pulling hard for Michigan.
Well, and also something to correct at the last game, a loss here by Notre Dame does not hand Notre Dame the Big Ten crown. They also need Michigan to lose, and what a hit there by Mika Raikkonen.
Raikkonen gets into the backfield and puts Terrence Jones on his back. Raikkonen tonight, 7 tackles. That's his first tackle for a loss. And that is how we end the third quarter here from Lincoln Memorial. Nebraska up by 7, but the Road Warriors and the Michigan Wolverines looking to pull off their second upset of the night. You're watching the CFSL on PX1 Sports on YouTube Live. Start of the fourth quarter. Jones with a handoff for Chapman, gets out just across the 30, picking up 4 yards, but it's a long third down.
Well, A.D. Drewster's also Devin Hill on the Nebraska team says Notre Dame would never root for Michigan. I guarantee you that's not the case. That's their only way they can win a title.
Not when the conference title is on the line here, as Jones gets a yard as he had to take off and run, and Aaron Joseph was there to slam the door in his face, so Michigan will punt.
Well, Nebraska did what they needed to do. Good coverage downfield, didn't give Jones anything that he liked. Tried to take off and run, but Joseph does a good job of not letting him get free.
So the Nebraska defense coming up with 2 back-to-back 3-and-outs and forcing punts by the Michigan offense. Meanwhile, Dowdy Dow putting in effort to get as close to midfield as he can for Scott Fountain to make this a 2-score lead again.
David, I'm just going to let you know, I know there's not much time left in this, but if Dowdy Dowell breaks one off for a punt return TD, I am going to squeal like a little girl.
Good to know. I'll be sure to turn on my headset.
It's already in my head.
He's come close a couple of times.
Yeah.
Speaking of coming close, Fountain has come close a few times from breaking a touchdown run for 6, and then John Hill Jordan there said, "Nuh-uh, no more of that."
Well, he's coming close to winding up at the hospital after big hits like that.
John Hill Jordan doing all he can to try and knock the ball free, either from Fountain or from Dowell or anybody who gets into contact with it. It's Fountain to throw right over the middle, and there's Castle laying the lumber against a walk-on Hall.
So the punt for Michigan is really big because we talked about the pressure being on the Michigan defense last drive. It's even more so here because a touchdown here against a team that has struggled passing the ball, you got to think almost puts this game away. A lot of pressure on the Michigan defense.
And off Dowell with some room. He'll get 7 as Raheem Darka comes downhill to make that stop. Dowell closing in on 100.
Well, he's had 100 in every game this season. Wouldn't be the same if he didn't get it for the 7th straight game.
Which is funny because last season he only had 2 games over 100 rushing yards. As Fountain keeping it outside of the right, and he'll get the first down.
So, that's an interesting point when you say that, is that Dowell didn't look like a big breakout running back, but under the right scheme with the right coaching and the right personnel around him, guys can show what they're capable of. AR-15 is a perfect example of that. Never really wound up in the right scheme for his talents.
Speaking of his talents, Dowell has a talent of finding very hard collisions with John Hill Jordan.
Well, Jordan's doing everything he can. He's playing hard back there. The 5-star safety is doing everything he can to try to force some to lose, trying to force some doubt to creep into Dowell's mind. Right now, we haven't seen the effects of that.
Pistol here on 2nd and inches. Coming in motion, Zyrock Young on the triple option, but Dowell gets a carry, working his way outside where Castle will stop him at about the 6-yard line for a 1st and goal.
Well, Kenny Baker, the AD of Nebraska, brings up a good point. He's saying Dowell co-offensive player of the year. I mean, if Nebraska were to go on and win out this season, could we see a scenario like that?
As in co-offensive player of the year?
Yeah. I mean, how do you choose between Fountain and Dowell?
It's true. It'd be an interesting setup. We've never seen a co-offensive player of the year. We've seen co-player of the week. Seen that a couple of times, actually, as Dowell gets down inside the 5.
Well, Michigan's defense doing a good job here. Nebraska wants to run the clock off, pound it in, and right now, Michigan's not making it easy for him.
3rd and goal from the 4. Trips, bottom of the screen for Scott Fountain as he makes an adjustment. Speed option left. And Fountain was not ready for John Hill Jordan, this Michigan defense, to be all over that as Cfsl gets credit with the tackle.
Well, they brought 3 guys down there. Really, it was 2, but they had another guy that came off of his block. So they were ready for the option. Good job there by the Michigan defense. They forced the field goal. Now, still being down 10 with this offense, not the ideal spot for them, but they gave them a chance.
Bill Pistorino makes it that 10-point game from about 25 yards out. And Mike, Michigan has got a lot of work to do. Down 4.5 minutes to play. And as you said, they struggled to push the ball downfield this season.
They have. And that's an interesting predicament to be in because you have guys like Giorgio Pepino and Trey Greer and Trey Jackson. Like, you've got guys that could beat defenses. They just haven't been able to find them. And a lot of that's rested on the shoulders of Tanner Jones.
It's going to open up with the draw play for Dior Chapman, and he'll get 7 to begin this drive.
I don't mind that running there. You can run a little bit on this drive. You don't want to take up so much time that you force yourself into an onside kick, but you can use the running game on this drive.
Pistol set. Jones with a 4-man rush, dancing in the pocket, and Trey Jackson drops that one. Heard footsteps as he was coming back for it.
Well, so the one thing that you got to give credit to the Nebraska defense is they're not, so far, have not allowed one of those receivers to get open deep, and they really need to limit. They don't want to give up a one-play touchdown.
Dior Chapman gets carry on 3rd down. They needed 3 yards to convert. He'll pick up 5 and move the sticks.
The longer you make this drive, regardless if you give up points or not, the longer this drive lasts, the more it favors Nebraska holding on for the win.
We've just crossed the midway point of the 4th as Jones gets away from Scotty Morgan the 3rd and then runs into a sea of red, picking up 7, up to 129 yards on the ground.
Well, Jones has to be careful when he gets stood up like that somebody doesn't come through and pop that ball loose. Got to cover up. Probably a good idea just to slide there.
Pistol set. Trey Greer coming in motion. Handoff. Chapman gets laid out by Mika Ray-Conen.
Well, we've seen some big hits by John Hill Jordan. On the other side, Ray-Conen coming up with a big hit of his own.
Nighthawk saying that the lost OSU is going to haunt him. Well, the thing for Notre Dame is that Nebraska can still lose next week and USC can beat Texas, and Notre Dame is still the conference champions.
Yeah, I would say the loss to Texas is haunting Notre Dame more than anything, but a great job there. Aaron Josephs coming in with the sack on 3rd down. Michigan's going to have to go for it here.
4th and 5, 3:08 to play as Jones ran into the sack by Aaron Josephs, and Josephs just had to use his forearms because of the size difference between them.
Yeah, little guy out there, Tanner Jones, only 5'9".
Looked like Jones was pushing over a 4-year-old with that as Jones throws it well short, and the Nebraska defense comes up with a stop.
Well, and Michigan goes back to doing what Michigan's been doing all season, which is going short of the marker on 3rd down. We've seen a lot of halfback screens. That one they throw halfway to the marker, and Nebraska just makes the play.
And off for Dowell as this Nebraska offense gets to do what they do best, run the ball and chill clock.
Well, yeah, and that's all they're going to do right now. Cletus Castle's in for another big tackle game. Had a big one last week. He's got 14 this week along with 3 for loss. He's doing everything he can, but at this point, it's just run the ball and chew clock for the Cornhusker offense.
And protect the ball. No fumbles are in the mind of the Nebraska Cornhuskers as they keep feeding Dowell here. He'll get 4 in Michigan, burning their first time out.
Do you see that, Nebraska? David's trying to jinx you.
I'm not trying to jinx anybody. Fountain throwing right side. That pass incomplete as the contact with Hector Garcia forced that one.
Yeah, I didn't see who that was, that runaway train that hit him. But Nebraska going for the jugular here, going for it on 4th and 4.
Got to come out in the pistol. And Fountain to throw with a blitz in his face. Threads the needle, but it's incomplete. Dynasty couldn't hold on.
Wow, you got to respect. Oh, and wow, and Dynasty had it, and they knocked it. You could have called that a fumble, which actually Michigan doesn't want it to because they would have lost some yards onto that. But, you know, I always like to say no balls, no babies. Nebraska, they were going for it. They were going for the jugular.
2 timeouts for Michigan, 2 minutes of play. Empty backfield, Jones. taking a shot on the right sideline. That pass caught. Trey Greer down to the 19.
Well, they hit him with the one play, but unfortunately it was just a little bit underthrown by Jones and allowed the cornerback to make the tackle. But Michigan's in position. They got him offsides.
And a quick throw to boot with that. Wow.
Offside.
That was the walk-on defensive end, Brent Joseph. The big man was a little slow getting back there, couldn't keep up with this high-powered offense, and gives a free 5 yards to Michigan.
Wow. I don't think we've ever seen that, by the way.
No, we haven't. It's not that often that those big plays get stopped like that, especially in a no-huddle situation.
It also stops the clock with that penalty, so they go draw play. Chapman outside right, down to the 10.
Yeah, I mean, you can still run it here, but you're eating up valuable time. You're going to have to go for an onside kick either way at this point, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But I think the quicker you get in the end zone, the better.
And the more time you'll have on the other side, assuming you can get the onside kick, is Jones to the goal line, but Pepino cannot hold on as he got took for a ride.
Well, these defenses are hitting. They're playing really good coverage, both sides of the ball. They're sticking it to them, and they're really making them having to fight for these first downs.
Like Pepino left his lunch on a tilt-a-roll. As Jones short and a huge hit for Chapman to force the incompletion.
Well, that was the defensive end that got called, Brent Johnson, that called for the defensive penalty that comes up with the big hit there. Ball game on the line here for Michigan.
4th and 1. Trey Greer coming in motion. Triple option. Jones keeps it, gets the first down, but he loses the football. And Mika Raikkonen recovers it. Can he outrun the Michigan defense? Is giving chase. It's Chapman, and he trips him up at the 20.
Wow, what a play there. And again, I said this earlier that Jones has to be careful and cover it up. He gets hit there by Austin Johnson. The ball pops loose, and Raikkonen takes off with it. Great job there by Chapman to chase it down, but it doesn't really matter. All Nebraska's got to do is run out the clock.
What a win for the Cornhuskers tonight as Dowdy Dow gets the carry, and he'll get 4, and Michigan will burn a timeout. So they're really banking at this point on jarring the ball loose from Dow or Fountain.
Well, they have to, and they're going to have a long field in front of them. That's the only thing they can try to do at this point.
Dow outside to the left here to try and salt this one away. Gets 3, forcing Michigan to burn their final timeout.
So one more run here will take the ball down to, or clock down to about 30 seconds. They'll try the field goal, and Michigan's going to have about 25 seconds or so to get 2 scores.
Fountain on the read option. Keeper gets lit up by John Hill Jordan, but it's 1st and goal.
Well, Fountain living dangerously there. He should have learned from what just happened to Tanner Jones, and now victory formation here on senior night in Lincoln.
And a great win for Nebraska, because now they continue to control their own destiny, and a win against Oregon next week makes them the Big Ten champions.
Yep, Nebraska gets the play for the Big Ten championship against their rival, Oregon. It's become a rivalry these last 3 seasons. They want to move it to a neutral site starting next season. What a line in the sand that will be for this rivalry if Oregon comes up with the win. Great game played by Nebraska. Good fight there, but Michigan still just not quite there with putting a full game together.
Michigan will take on their rivals next week against the Ohio State Buckeyes, but this is how we end Week 7. We'll be back on Monday with the Inside Blitz podcast over on Twitch to break down all the playoff scenarios. But for Mike, I'm David. That'll do it for us from Lincoln Memorial, and we'll see you back on Monday.